The cold metallic walls of the mining station on Kepler 442b hum with the quiet rhythm of forgotten machinery. Dr. Elena Vasquez, barely 28, stands alone amidst the ruins of her late mentor's research, the weight of an unknown legacy pressing down on her shoulders. But the station is far from abandoned. Deep within its forgotten corridors, something stirs, a hidden power that waits, not for the strongest or the smartest, but for those with the heart to challenge its tests. When corporate raiders from Titan Industries arrive, eager to exploit the alien technology, they believe they can claim it all. But they don't understand one thing. The technology doesn't choose based on strength. It chooses based on something far more dangerous: humanity's boundless courage and unwavering determination. Elena, now the unwilling protector of an ancient, sentient technology, faces a choice that will shape the future of her species. In a galaxy teetering on the brink of destruction, the last guardian will rise, and with her, humanity's true potential will either shine or burn. This is the story of the last guardian's choice. The inheritance awakens. Dr. Elena Vasquez pressed her palm against the cold metal door of Research Station Omega-7, her breath forming small clouds in the thin atmosphere of Kepler 442b. The automated message had been clear. Dr. Sarah Chen had named her the sole inheritor of the remote archaeological site. What the message hadn't explained was why her mentor had died alone on this frozen world, or why the Galactic Mining Consortium had been so eager to buy out her claim. The door recognized Elena's biometric signature and slid open with a soft hiss. Inside, the station felt eerily quiet. Dr. Chen had always kept her workspace immaculate, but now personal items were scattered across the main laboratory as if someone had been searching for something. Elena picked up a photo of herself and Dr. Chen at their graduation ceremony from the Xenoarchaeology Institute. They had been so excited about unlocking the mysteries of dead civilizations scattered across the galaxy. Elena moved deeper into the station, her footsteps echoing in the empty corridors. The living quarters were similarly disturbed, but the real shock came when she reached the restricted laboratory in the station's lower level. The heavy security door had been forced open, its electronic locks fried by what looked like an energy weapon. Inside, she found Dr. Chen's greatest discovery. The chamber contained artifacts unlike anything in the standard archaeological databases. Crystalline structures pulsed with soft blue light, their surfaces covered in symbols that seemed to shift and change when Elena wasn't looking directly at them. In the center of the room stood a pedestal holding what appeared to be a sphere of liquid metal that defied gravity, rotating slowly in mid-air. Elena approached the central artifact cautiously. Her scanner readings were off the charts, detecting energy signatures that shouldn't exist according to current physics. As she reached out to touch the sphere, her communication device crackled to life. "Dr. Vasquez, this is Captain Marcus Stone of the Titan Industries Security Division. You are trespassing on corporate property. Exit the facility immediately or face the consequences." Elena looked around the chamber in confusion. This was her inheritance, legally transferred according to Dr. Chen's will. She activated her communicator. "Captain Stone, I'm the legal owner of this research station. I have the documentation to prove it." A harsh laugh came through the speaker. "Corporate law supersedes individual claims when alien technology poses a potential threat to galactic security. You have 10 minutes to evacuate before we take the station by force." Elena felt a surge of anger. This was exactly the kind of corporate bullying that had driven Dr. Chen to work in isolation on this remote world. She turned back to the artifacts, and as her emotions intensified, the blue light within the crystals began to pulse faster. The liquid metal sphere stopped rotating and began to descend toward the pedestal. Without thinking, Elena reached out and grasped the sphere. The moment her skin made contact with its surface, the world exploded into sensation. Images flooded her mind. Vast cities built from living crystal, beings of pure energy working alongside humanoid figures, and spacecraft that moved between stars like thoughts crossing a mind. She saw the rise and fall of a civilization that had spanned the galaxy millions of years ago. The beings called themselves the Architects, and they had seeded the galaxy with their technology before their extinction. But their artifacts were not simple tools. They were tests. Each piece of architect technology contained safeguards that evaluated the worthiness of those who would claim them. Only species demonstrating true courage, determination, and wisdom could unlock their full potential. Elena gasped as the visions faded, but the knowledge remained. She understood now why Dr. Chen had hidden these artifacts and why Titan Industries wanted them so desperately. In the wrong hands, this technology could reshape the balance of power in the galaxy. But the architects had been clever. Their safeguards ensured that only the worthy could access their greatest achievements. The ground shook as Titan Industries assault shuttles landed outside the station. Elena could hear the whine of energy weapons charging and the heavy footsteps of combat troops. She looked around the chamber and made a decision that would change everything. Moving to the largest crystal formation, Elena placed both hands against its surface. The crystal responded immediately, its blue light expanding to encompass the entire chamber. Suddenly, Elena could sense every system in the station, every power conduit and defensive system that Dr. Chen had never mentioned in her reports. The station was far more than a research facility. It was a fortress. "Warning! Unauthorized military vehicles detected," announced a voice that seemed to come from the station itself. "Defensive protocols activated. Please state your intentions." Elena smiled grimly. "Protect the archaeological site and its contents from corporate raiders." "Acknowledged. Beginning defensive sequence." Captain Stone and his team had just breached the station's main entrance when the corridor filled with a low humming sound. Emergency lights bathed everything in red, and blast doors began slamming shut throughout the facility. The Titan Industries soldiers found themselves separated and trapped in small sections of the station. "What the hell is happening?" Stone shouted into his communicator. "Martinez, get those doors open." "Sir, the security system has been completely rewritten," came the panicked response from his technical specialist. "It's using encryption algorithms I've never seen before. It would take hours to crack." In the artifact chamber, Elena watched holographic displays showing the positions of all intruders. The architect technology had interfaced with the station's systems, upgrading them beyond anything human science had achieved. She could see Captain Stone's vitals, his weapons inventory, even his psychological profile. The man was a corporate enforcer, pure and simple, with no interest in scientific discovery or the greater good of humanity. But the architect's test wasn't just about recognizing threats. Elena realized she was being evaluated too. How would she use this power? Would she eliminate the corporate soldiers, or find a way to resolve the situation without bloodshed? The sphere in her hands grew warm, and she understood that her choice would determine whether humanity proved worthy of the architect's legacy. Elena opened a communication channel that reached every person in the station. "Captain Stone, I'm giving you and your team one chance to leave peacefully. The artifacts you're after can't be stolen or forced to work. They respond only to those who prove themselves worthy through their actions, not their weapons." Stone's voice crackled with fury. "You're in violation of 17 different corporate statutes. When we get out of here, you'll face a lifetime in a mining colony prison." "You're not thinking clearly," Elena replied calmly. "You're trapped in a facility controlled by technology your weapons can't damage. Your only options are to listen to reason, or to spend the rest of your lives locked in those corridors." To prove her point, Elena activated one of the station's environmental systems. The temperature in Stone's section dropped by 20 degrees in seconds. Then she restored it to normal, demonstrating that she had complete control over their survival. The architects who built this technology valued wisdom, courage, and compassion, Elena continued. They created these safeguards because they knew that advanced technology in the wrong hands could destroy civilizations. Your corporate masters want to weaponize discoveries that should benefit all of humanity. One of the trapped soldiers, a young woman named Corporal Lisa Park, spoke up on the communication channel. "Sir, Maybe we should listen to her. My readings show this technology is beyond anything in our databases. If she wanted us dead, we'd already be dead. Captain Stone's response was immediate and harsh. Corporal Park, you're out of line. Our orders are clear. But Elena could see from the biometric readings that other members of Stone's team were having doubts. The technology was showing her their stress levels, their heart rates, their brain activity. Several soldiers were beginning to question the mission. Elena made another decision that would prove crucial to humanity's future. Instead of using her advantage to defeat the corporate soldiers, she chose to trust them with the truth. She opened the artifact chamber's displays to broadcast throughout the station, sharing the visions the architects had shown her. Every person in the facility watched as the history of a galactic civilization unfolded before their eyes. They saw the architects' great works, their scientific achievements, and their ultimate destruction through the misuse of their own technology by lesser species. They witnessed the careful placement of safeguards designed to prevent history from repeating itself. When the display ended, the station fell silent. Even Captain Stone seemed shaken by what he had witnessed. This changes everything, Corporal Park whispered. This isn't just about mining rights or corporate profits. This is about the future of our entire species. Elena nodded, though she knew Park couldn't see her. The architects believed that every species reaches a crossroads where they must choose between wisdom and destruction. This moment, right here, is humanity's test. How we handle this discovery will determine whether we're worthy of joining the galactic community, or whether we'll follow the same path as the civilizations that came before us. The sphere in Elena's hands pulsed with warmth, and she knew her words were being evaluated by systems beyond human understanding. The architect's technology was measuring not just her actions, but the actions of every human in the station. Their collective response would shape humanity's destiny. Captain Stone's voice came through the communicator, quieter now and stripped of its earlier arrogance. Dr. Vasquez, what exactly are you proposing? Elena smiled, feeling hope for the first time since discovering Dr. Chen's death. I'm proposing that we work together to unlock the architect's legacy the right way. Not as corporate property or weapons of war, but as tools to help humanity grow into something worthy of the stars. The station's systems hummed with renewed energy as the architect technology registered the first signs of cooperation among the humans. The test was far from over, but Elena had taken the first crucial step toward proving that humanity possessed the wisdom to inherit the galaxy's greatest treasures. The human factor. The emergency meeting in the station's main conference room was unlike anything Captain Stone had experienced in his 15 years of corporate security work. Instead of interrogating prisoners or planning tactical assaults, he found himself sitting across from Dr. Elena Vasquez as she explained the most significant discovery in human history. The architects didn't just leave behind technology, Elena said, her hands moving over a holographic display that showed star maps spanning the galaxy. They left behind a test. Every piece of their equipment contains evaluation protocols that measure the moral and intellectual development of whoever tries to use it. Corporal Park leaned forward, her eyes wide with fascination. So the artifacts are alive? Not exactly alive, but definitely intelligent, Elena replied. They're designed to recognize specific traits in species that encounter them. Courage, determination, the willingness to sacrifice for others, the ability to choose cooperation over conquest. These are the qualities the architects valued most. Captain Stone shifted uncomfortably in his chair. His mission briefing had been clear: secure all alien artifacts for Titan Industries and eliminate any resistance. But nothing had prepared him for technology that could read his intentions and judge his worthiness. Dr. Vasquez, with all due respect, my orders haven't changed. I'm supposed to bring these artifacts back to corporate headquarters. Elena nodded sympathetically. I understand your position, Captain. But I need you to understand something important. The artifacts won't work for your corporate masters. The architects designed them to reject anyone motivated purely by greed or the desire for power. To demonstrate her point, Elena activated a small crystalline device she had taken from the artifact chamber. The crystal began to glow with soft blue light in her hands, responding to her touch. She passed it to Corporal Park, and the light remained steady. When Park handed it to Captain Stone, however, the crystal went dark immediately. "It's reading your intentions," Elena explained gently. "Right now, you're thinking about how to complete your mission and please your corporate superiors. The crystal recognizes that motivation and rejects it." Stone stared at the dead crystal in his hands, feeling a mixture of frustration and awe. "So what you're saying is that this technology chooses its own users?" "Exactly. And it chooses based on character, not authority or firepower." Elena retrieved the crystal, which immediately began glowing again. The architects learned from their own mistakes. They created wonders that transformed their civilization, but they also created weapons that ultimately destroyed them. Their final act was to ensure that future species wouldn't repeat their errors. Sergeant Mike Rodriguez, Stone's demolitions expert, spoke up from the back of the room. "Ma'am, if this technology is so selective, how do we know humanity is worthy of it at all?" Elena smiled at the question. "Because you're asking that question, Sergeant. A species concerned about its own worthiness is already demonstrating wisdom. The architects valued self-reflection and the ability to recognize one's own limitations." The station's communication system suddenly activated, interrupting their discussion. "Incoming transmission from Titan Industries Command," announced the artificial intelligence that now managed the facility's systems. Captain Stone straightened in his chair. "This is Captain Stone. Accept the transmission." The holographic display filled with the stern face of Admiral Patricia Knox, Titan Industries' chief military officer. Her expression was ice-cold as she surveyed the conference room. "Captain Stone, you were ordered to secure the archaeological site 12 hours ago. Explain your delay." Stone glanced at Elena, then back at the Admiral. "Ma'am, the situation is more complex than anticipated. The alien technology appears to have significant defensive capabilities. I'm not interested in excuses, Captain. I'm deploying the Harbinger battlecruiser to your location. You have 6 hours to complete your mission before we glass the entire site from orbit." Elena felt her blood run cold. The Harbinger was one of Titan Industries' most powerful warships, capable of reducing the research station to molten slag within minutes. "Admiral Knox," she interjected, "destroying this site would be a catastrophic loss for all of humanity. The technology here could advance our civilization by thousands of years." Admiral Knox's gaze fixed on Elena with obvious contempt. "Dr. Vasquez, I presume. Your interference with corporate operations ends now. You have 6 hours to surrender all alien artifacts, or we'll ensure that no one else can claim them either." The transmission ended, leaving the conference room in stunned silence. Elena stared at the empty holographic display, her mind racing. 6 hours wasn't enough time to fully understand the architect's technology, let alone figure out how to protect it from orbital bombardment. "Dr. Vasquez," Corporal Park said quietly, "is there any way this station can defend itself against a battle cruiser?" Elena returned to the artifact chamber, followed by the entire group. The crystalline formations pulsed with increased intensity, as if responding to the growing threat. She placed her hands on the central sphere again, seeking answers in the vast repository of architect knowledge. The visions that came this time were different. Instead of historical records, Elena saw technical schematics and operational manuals for systems she hadn't known existed. The research station wasn't just a facility built on the planet's surface. It was the tip of a massive construct that extended deep into Kepler 442b's crust, drawing power from the planet's molten core. "This isn't a research station," Elena whispered in amazement. "It's a ship, a massive starship buried in the planet's surface." Captain Stone moved closer to the displays showing the underground structure. "How massive are we talking about?" Elena's hands moved over the holographic controls, revealing the true scope of the construct. 15 kilometers long, 5 kilometers wide. It's been dormant for over 2 million years, waiting for someone worthy to reactivate it. The implications were staggering. The architects hadn't just left behind a few artifacts on a remote planet. They had hidden an entire starship, complete with technologies that could revolutionize human understanding of physics, engineering, and space travel. Can it fly? Sergeant Rodriguez asked pragmatically. Elena consulted the technical displays, her understanding growing as the architect's systems interfaced with her mind. Yes, but only if the ship's AI determines that its captain possesses the necessary moral and intellectual qualifications. She looked around at the assembled group, realizing that the next few hours would determine not just their survival, but humanity's future among the stars. The ship will only accept a captain who demonstrates true leadership, not just command authority. Someone who puts the welfare of others above personal gain. Captain Stone understood immediately. Someone like you, Dr. Vasquez. Elena shook her head. The choice isn't mine alone. The architects designed their technology to respond to group consensus and shared purpose. We all have to decide together what we're going to do with this discovery. As if responding to her words, the artifact chamber filled with new holographic displays. Each screen showed a different aspect of the ship's capabilities. Defensive shields that could withstand planet-cracking weapons, engines that could traverse the galaxy in weeks instead of centuries, and manufacturing systems that could create anything from basic supplies to advanced starships. But the most important display showed something else entirely. Star charts marking the locations of other architect sites throughout the galaxy. Dozens of worlds containing similar technologies, all waiting for worthy species to claim them. They built an empire, Corporal Park breathed. An entire network of hidden technologies scattered across the galaxy. Elena nodded, her excitement growing. And they left it all for whoever could prove themselves worthy. This isn't just about one ship or one planet. It's about inheriting the tools to explore and populate the entire galaxy. The station's sensors suddenly detected the approach of the Harbinger battlecruiser, still hours away but closing fast. Elena felt the weight of decision pressing down on her. She could attempt to activate the ship and flee, preserving the technology but abandoning Earth and the rest of humanity. Or she could stand and fight, risking everything on the hope that human courage and determination would be enough to face Titan Industries' most powerful weapon. Dr. Vasquez, Captain Stone said quietly, I've been thinking about what you said earlier, about choosing cooperation over conquest. He paused, his expression troubled. I've spent my entire career following orders without question. Maybe it's time I started thinking for myself. Elena looked at him with new respect. What are you suggesting, Captain? I'm suggesting that my team and I help you activate this ship and protect it from my former employers. If this technology really can benefit all of humanity, then it's worth defending. One by one, the other soldiers voiced their agreement. Even the most loyal corporate troops found themselves inspired by the vision of a better future for their species. The architect technology seemed to amplify their natural human tendency toward cooperation and mutual aid. Elena placed her hands on the ship's control systems, feeling the massive vessel responding to her touch. Deep beneath the planet's surface, fusion reactors that had slept for millions of years began to warm up. Gravitational field generators hummed to life, preparing to lift 15 kilometers of advanced spacecraft from its rocky tomb. But the ship's AI had one final test for its new crew. A holographic figure appeared in the chamber, resembling the architects Elena had seen in her earlier visions. When it spoke, its voice carried the weight of eons. Inheritors of the galaxy, the figure said, you stand at the threshold of greatness, but power without wisdom leads only to destruction. Will you use our gifts to conquer or to explore, to dominate or to discover? Your answer will determine whether the stars welcome you as friends or fear you as enemies. Elena looked around at her unlikely crew. A corporate security captain willing to defy his orders, soldiers choosing conscience over duty, and a xenoarchaeologist about to become the captain of the most advanced ship in the galaxy. They were an imperfect group, but they were human. And perhaps that was exactly what the architects had been waiting for. We choose to explore, Elena said firmly. We choose to discover. We choose to prove that humanity is worthy of the stars. The ship's AI nodded approvingly, and throughout the massive vessel, systems that had waited 2 million years for this moment finally came online. The test was nearly complete, but the greatest challenge still lay ahead. Humanity's true test. The massive Architect starship rose from the depths of Kepler 442b like a mountain learning to fly. Elena stood on the vessel's command bridge, watching through crystalline viewports as the research station that had been her inheritance transformed into something magnificent beyond imagination. The ship's hull gleamed with an opalescent sheen that seemed to shift between states of matter, beautiful and alien, yet somehow welcoming. Harbinger battlecruiser entering weapons range in 47 minutes, reported the ship's AI in its melodious voice. The artificial intelligence had identified itself as Axiom, a name that Elena found fitting for a system designed to embody fundamental truths about the universe. Captain Stone stood at Elena's side, his expression a mixture of awe and determination. In the past few hours, he had transformed from a corporate enforcer into something Elena hadn't expected. A true ally. Dr. Vasquez, the Harbinger carries enough firepower to crack a moon. Even with this ship's capabilities, we're facing overwhelming odds. Elena nodded, her hands moving over control surfaces that responded to her thoughts as much as her touch. The Architect technology had integrated with her nervous system, creating a symbiotic relationship between human intuition and alien precision. She could feel the ship around her like an extension of her own body, its systems humming with power that defied human understanding of physics. Axiom, Elena said aloud. What are our defensive capabilities? This vessel possesses shield technology capable of withstanding stellar-level energy outputs, the AI replied. Additionally, we carry weapons systems that could theoretically destroy planets or entire star systems. The bridge fell silent as the implications sank in. Elena felt a chill that had nothing to do with the ship's environmental systems. The architects hadn't just left behind exploration tools. They had hidden weapons of unimaginable destructive power, and now Elena held the key to unleashing them. Corporal Park spoke up from the sensor station where she had been learning to interface with the ship's systems. Ma'am, I'm detecting additional Titan Industries vessels approaching. It looks like they've called in reinforcements from 3 different star systems. Elena closed her eyes, feeling the weight of decision pressing down on her. With the ship's weapons, she could eliminate the Titan Industries fleet and ensure that the Architect technology remained safe. It would be a clean solution, protecting humanity's inheritance from corporate greed. But it would also mean crossing a line that could never be uncrossed. Axiom, Elena said carefully. Show me what happened to the architects. Show me how they destroyed themselves. The bridge filled with holographic displays depicting the final days of the architect's civilization. Elena watched as a species that had mastered the fundamental forces of the universe turned their incredible weapons against each other in conflicts that spanned star systems. Planets burned, stars went nova, and entire regions of the galaxy became uninhabitable wastelands. They were not evil, Axiom explained as the devastating images played out around them. They were advanced, intelligent, capable of wonders. But they forgot that with great power comes the responsibility to choose wisely. In the end, they chose destruction over dialogue, conquest over cooperation. Elena understood now why the Architect technology included such extensive moral evaluation systems. The beings who had created it had learned too late that technological advancement without wisdom led inevitably to catastrophe. Incoming transmission from the Harbinger, announced Sergeant Rodriguez from the communications station. Accept it, Elena replied, bracing herself for what she knew would be Admiral Knox's ultimatum. The holographic image of Admiral Knox appeared larger than life on the bridge's main display. Behind her, Elena could see the bridge of the Harbinger with its gleaming surfaces and rows of uniformed officers. The contrast between the sterile corporate warship and the living beauty of the Architect vessel couldn't have been more stark. Dr. Vasquez, Admiral Knox began without preamble. You are now commanding stolen corporate property. Surrender immediately, or face the consequences. Elena stepped forward, her voice steady despite the enormity of the moment. Admiral Knox, The technology you're trying to claim doesn't belong to Titan Industries or any human corporation. It belongs to all of humanity, and it comes with responsibilities you don't understand. Admiral Knox's expression hardened. I understand that you've hijacked military-grade alien technology that poses a threat to galactic security. My orders are clear. Secure the technology, or ensure it can't be used against human interests. What if I told you that this technology could end scarcity forever? Elena replied. That it could give humanity the tools to explore and settle thousands of worlds? That it could transform our species into something worthy of the stars? I'd say you're naive, Dr. Vasquez. Technology like that in the wrong hands could end human civilization. Better that it remain under proper corporate oversight than risk chaos. Elena felt anger rising within her, but also something else. Pity. Admiral Knox genuinely believed that corporate control was humanity's best hope for managing the architect legacy. She couldn't see beyond the power structures that had shaped her entire life. Axiom, Elena said quietly. Can you project Admiral Knox's psychological profile? The Admiral's motivations are primarily institutional loyalty and fear of change, the AI replied. She genuinely believes that corporate authority represents stability and safety for humanity. Elena made a decision that would define not just her own future, but humanity's place in the galaxy. Instead of using the ship's weapons, she chose to trust in something uniquely human, the power of hope and the willingness to change. Admiral Knox, Elena said, opening a direct communication link to every ship in the Titan Industries fleet, I'm going to show you what the architects really left behind, not weapons or tools of conquest, but something far more valuable. Elena interfaced with the ship's systems, accessing star charts that showed the locations of architect sites throughout the galaxy. But instead of keeping this information secret, she broadcast it to every vessel in the area. Hundreds of worlds appeared on the displays, each marking a location where humanity could find the tools to build a better future. These are the coordinates of architect sites across the galaxy, Elena announced. Worlds where we can find the technology to terraform dead planets, to cure diseases, to create sustainable energy sources that will last for millions of years. The architects didn't just leave behind weapons, Admiral. They left behind the keys to paradise. On the Harbinger's bridge, Elena could see officers and crew members staring at the star charts with growing amazement. The scope of the discovery was beyond anything humanity had imagined possible. But here's the crucial part, Elena continued. The technology won't work for anyone motivated by greed or the desire for power. It responds only to those who demonstrate wisdom, courage, and the willingness to put others before themselves. Corporate entities can't claim it because corporations can't feel compassion or make moral choices. Only individual humans can prove themselves worthy. Admiral Knox's voice cracked with frustration. You're talking about anarchy, Dr. Vasquez. Without proper oversight, this technology could fall into the hands of terrorists or hostile alien species. Or it could fall into the hands of teachers, scientists, explorers, and builders, Elena replied. People who want to use it to create rather than destroy. The architects trusted in the fundamental goodness of worthy species. I'm asking you to trust in the fundamental goodness of humanity. Elena made her final gambit, opening the ship's docking bays and extending an invitation that would change everything. Admiral Knox, I'm inviting you and your officers to come aboard. See the technology for yourselves. Let it evaluate you. If you're truly motivated by humanity's best interests, the systems will respond to you too. The transmission fell silent as Admiral Knox considered this unprecedented offer. Elena could see the Admiral wrestling with a lifetime of corporate conditioning, trying to reconcile her orders with the magnitude of what she was being shown. Finally, Admiral Knox spoke. Dr. Vasquez, you're asking me to trust in something that goes against everything I've been trained to believe. I'm asking you to trust in humanity, Elena replied simply. To believe that we're capable of growth, of choosing cooperation over conquest, of proving ourselves worthy of the greatest gift any species has ever received. One by one, Other voices began to speak up on the communication channel. Junior officers and enlisted personnel from the Titan Industries fleet started to voice their own thoughts about the choice before them. Elena realized that her broadcast had reached not just the command staff, but every human in the approaching fleet. "Ma'am," came a young voice from one of the escort vessels, "what if Dr. Vasquez is right? What if this is our chance to become something better?" Admiral Knox closed her eyes, and when she opened them again, Elena saw something she hadn't expected. Hope. "Dr. Vasquez, if I agree to this, if I board your ship and subject myself to evaluation by alien technology, what happens to my command? To my responsibilities?" "Your responsibility is to humanity," Elena replied. "All of humanity, not just the corporate interests that employ you. The architect's greatest gift isn't their technology. It's the opportunity for our species to prove that we've learned from the mistakes of those who came before us." The moment stretched into eternity as Admiral Knox made her choice. When she finally spoke, her voice carried a weight that Elena recognized as the sound of someone choosing hope over fear. "All vessels, stand down from combat alert," Admiral Knox commanded. "Prepare shuttles for diplomatic transport. We're going to see what Dr. Vasquez has to show us." As Elena watched the Titan Industries fleet power down their weapons and launch peaceful shuttles, she felt the ship around her responding with what could only be described as approval. The architect technology pulsed with warm energy, recognizing that humanity had passed its greatest test. "Axiom," Elena said with a smile. "I think we're ready to explore the galaxy." "Indeed, Captain Vasquez," the AI replied, and Elena realized that for the first time, it had addressed her by the title she had truly earned. "The stars await humanity's arrival. I believe the architects would be proud of what you have accomplished today." Elena looked around the bridge at her unlikely crew, former corporate soldiers who had chosen conscience over orders, an AI that had waited millions of years for a worthy species to emerge, and an admiral who had learned to trust in humanity's potential for greatness. They were far from perfect, but they were human. And perhaps that was the most powerful force in the galaxy. The great ship turned toward the stars, carrying with it the hope of an entire species and the promise of adventures yet to come. Humanity had proven itself worthy of the cosmos, not through conquest or domination, but through the simple willingness to choose cooperation over conflict and hope over fear. The age of human expansion into the galaxy had begun, and it would be built on the foundation of the very qualities that made humanity unique: determination, ingenuity, compassion, and the unshakable belief that tomorrow could be better than today.